Seine Erfindung ist weltberühmt, doch sein Gesicht kennen nur wenige. Die Rede ist von Tony Buzan. Der britische Mentaltrainer entwickelte vor rund 40 Jahren die Mind-Mapping-Methode, die heute millionenfach genutzt wird. Für sein Wirken erhält der Bestseller-Autor 2013 den Life Achievement Award der Weiterbildungsbranche. Nicole Bußmann traf den leidenschaftlichen Trainer im November 2012 in dessen Landsitz vor den Toren Londons.
Lifetime award for me is, it's not my lifetime yet because I'm still alive, so I am still here. So it's a lifetime award until now. And my first 70 years have been devoted more and more and more to everybody's brain, everybody, and learning and thinking and training and communication and education. And I fell in love with it. You know, as a young man, I didn't want to be a teacher. You know, I just said, I don't need to be a teacher. But the more I experienced it, and the more I started to train managers and train human resource people and training people on television, the more I fell in love with the idea of talking with people and exchanging. And when I've done research and traveled to give all this wonderful information, and I have been thinking about it over the last 30 years, you know, what is the most important job? And there's a chef, important job. There's politician, which is important. There's accountant, there's lawyer, all these important jobs that the human being has to do. But the most important job is teaching, is passing knowledge and information and intelligence on. And so I began to think that all teachers and trainers, communicators, were doing the most important thing as long as they were doing wonderful things for the future of the human race. Not just ego, but giving and helping human beings. So for you to give me an award for that is the greatest honor I can have, because it's the most important area that I believe you are in and you are in.
You have developed the techniques of mind mapping. How did it all start?
How did I develop my maps? I developed them by being a bad student and being worse and worse and worse, and going into the library at the university when I was starting to decrease all my performances. So my marks were going down, my confidence was going down, my attitude was going down, my health was going down, everything was going down, because I wasn't doing very well. And I was making lots and lots of notes. And so I went to the library in the university and I said, you know, I need a book on how to use my brain. And the librarian said, the medical books are over there. And I said, I don't want to operate on my brain. I want to learn how to use it. And the librarian said, there are no books on that. And I thought, what? You know, if you buy a watch, if you buy a washing machine, if you buy a car, a computer, whatever you buy, whatever machine, you get an instructions manual, an operations manual. And for the brain, there was none. So I began to think, why am I doing badly? And I looked at my notes and they were all one color, blue or black. And that was what I thought was good. And all words. But when I began to think about it and research it, I realized that one color was monotone, which is a monotonous note. And monotonous is boring. It's boring. And what does everybody's brain do when they're bored? Switches off, tunes out, shuts down, goes to sleep. And in libraries around the world, including Germany, America, China, Japan, Australia, Mexico, you name it, people are going to sleep. in libraries because they're bored. And then I thought, I am actually training my brain with these monochromatic, wordy notes. I am training my brain to become less and less intelligent. So I began to look into it. I studied neurophysiology, I studied memory and the art and science of memory. I began to study the great notes of the great thinkers, including Leonardo da Vinci, Goethe, Michelangelo, Albert Einstein, Maria Montessori, etc. And all the good thinkers use notes that use color and began to use pictures. So I thought, I'll use some color. And my notes were all words, and in desperation before examinations, I would go through my notes in panic and I'd underline or highlight the key ideas. And I calculated that the key ideas were only less than 10% of the notes. So I'd wasted 90% plus. And then I had to read them again, which is another 90% wasted. And confusion because of the disconnection in my linear notes. So I thought, I have to change. I have to develop better note-taking. And I met an artist because I was beginning to use the keywords, and I had like memory sheets for my exams with the key words and some colors, but no images and no pictures because I thought I couldn't. And I met an artist by the name of Lorraine Gill, who is an artist and a teacher, another personal development artist teacher. And she said, why don't you use images? And I said, because I can't. And I was 26. And she said, anybody can. You must. And she taught me how to do images. And coincidentally, when you visited my home, the artist who did that in 1966 was in my home today in 2012 when I get the Achievement Award. And the images that populated and seeded mind maps originated those images, Leonardo da Vinci's inspirational notes and Lorraine Gill's art theory, just saying anybody can do it. And I thought, everybody can do that. Everybody can do little images. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. And therefore your memory, your learning, your creativity, all aspects of thinking accelerates and improves. So through the 1960s and the early 70s, I did mind maps in more and more intelligent form. And finally, when I was doing mind maps on my own thinking and my own teaching and my own training, it was as if I'd been driving through life in my car and the windscreen was filled with mud. So I was driving, but I couldn't see where I was going. When I was using mind maps, the windshield wipers went shroom, shroom, and everything was clear. I could think clearly on every level. So by the early 1970s, I was now teaching mind maps everywhere because I was so happy with them. I was so enthusiastic. And I was saying to people, look, here's a mind map. Here's how you can improve. And parents came and wanted to see what their children were doing. And then their children taught their mummy and daddy. And then mummy and daddy was teaching other people, and everybody began to teach other people. And the BBC said to me in 1972, can you do a program? And this was a paradigm-shifting moment in my life, because they said, can you do a half-an-hour program on the brain and mind mapping, this new stuff? And I said, of course. So they arranged a meeting in the BBC, in a studio like this, and the discussion was, how do we include what in the half-an-hour program? And so I did a little mind map, big mind map actually, and I had a picture of a brain in the middle on a television screen, and then a branch for all the things they wanted me to include in the program. And they said, you must have information on the brain, another branch. You must have information on memory, branch for memory, different sub-branches. You must have speed reading. You must have study, another branch for study. You must have note-taking branch, traditional note-taking. You must have mind maps. And this mind map was getting bigger and bigger. And the head of the BBC looked at the mind map. And he looked at me and he said, this mind map, he said, looks more than one program. Looks more like 10 programs. And I looked at the mind map and I said, yes, it does. And he said, jolly good. 10 programs. And I thought, what? And then, as he was walking away, he looked at the mind map and he said, can you write a book on that? Yes, I said. He said, jolly good, 10 programs and a book. And that was it. And this was not my idea. It was a half-an-hour program, and I wasn't thinking about a book. But the mind map actually said to him 10 programs and a book. And he said, oh yeah, 10 programs and a book. So it was the mind map that actually generated the ideas and promulgated the idea around the world.